Welcome back, everyone, for another super special bonus live episode of the Hired Geek podcast, recorded here at EDUCAUSE in Nashville. We are rolling right along. We're kind of midway through our interviews and everything, just a couple more throughout the day that I'm doing. So hopefully you're following along with all the great conversations we're having. But I am here now with Larry from Ohio University. So if you want to briefly introduce yourself and your role at the institution and what brings you to EDUCAUSE this year.
Thanks. Happy to be on the podcast. So I started in academic support at Ohio University. I'm going to date myself 31 years ago, and kind of took care of academic computer labs. And just obviously IT grew over that period of time. And eventually I became the director of IT for one of our regional campuses and then the director of IT for all the regional campuses. And part of that was this project that we're going to talk about today, where we brought higher ed classes out into the high schools. But EDUCAUSE, I mean, in addition to presenting, just like to be here, see what other people are doing. Obviously, AI is a big thing that's coming. So really just, staying in touch with what's happening in higher ed IT.
Awesome. Well, yeah, and I appreciate you making time in your schedule for this conversation while you're here at EDUCAUSE. And I think, yeah, really excited to explore the College Credit Plus program. And so if you want to just kind of introduce that, and then we'll kind of get more into kind of like the technology that's powering it, but just sort of like introduce this initiative and what it entails.
Sure. So the state of Ohio allows high school students to enroll in college classes, some as early as junior high, middle school. We don't get a lot of those at the university level, but I know a lot of the tech colleges get some of those. And essentially what it is that students can opt into college classes at a local university. Sometimes the teachers in the building get certified to teach a class, and so they'll take the class right at the high school campus, but oftentimes they will leave that high school campus and come to our campus. Kind of the challenges with that is the money follows the student, right? So if a student opts completely out of their high school and comes to campus, that district loses that student's money. And likewise, if they stay in the building, they keep that money, and often it'll be split at some level with the university to pay for instruction or whatever else it might be. So it's really a state level initiative, and all public institutions are encouraged to participate and offer classes to high school students.
Yeah, and I know there's just been a lot of kind of conversation out there, renewed interest or whatnot around school enrollment kind of stuff. So I think, it's great that the state of Ohio is kind of making that commitment and kind of on a larger scale, because I think it's sometimes, or I guess I get the impression that it is sometimes more ad hoc partnerships between like one institution, maybe
Yeah.
one school district or whatever else, like, and how those things are kind of facilitated. I guess if you want to like just, expand upon this is not a new thing, like
Right.
dual enrollment has been around for a while, but like how is technology sort of like empowering this effort to make it more effective and efficient?
Yeah, I mean, it is a challenge, again, because we wanna make it as a win-win as much as possible. We certainly wanna make it a win for the students, but also for the district and the university, and it's kind of creating those partnerships. And I think what we've done is we've expanded. So at our institution, we have something called the Ohio University Learning Network. We use it on our regional campuses to teach courses from one campus to another, maybe from one campus to all 5 campuses, sometimes even including the Athens campus. So we already had this network. A few years ago, we had migrated it to a Zoom-based video conferencing network and with Logitech Rally bars. And what we found is, like, it was so easy to deploy and maintain, like, compared to previous, like, large-scale video systems, like pre-COVID, like, Tandberg systems for Cisco video conferencing, where really expensive. So it wasn't conducive to, like, say, "Hey, let's just go throw this video bar into this high school." But now, for less than $8,000, essentially, we can go set up a video conferencing classroom in a high school. So now we've gone from just 26 rooms around the university system to include 15 high schools, where we essentially broadcast classes to them. Sometimes instructors will go there and teach from those rooms as well. But it is a win-win. It allows the student to stay on the high school site. So instead of them losing 100% of the money for the district, now it's a kind of a 50-50 split. Plus, the student gets access to courses that they may not get access to otherwise. And there's a variety of things we can talk about why that makes it better for them, I think.
Yeah, well, and I guess like I get the impression too that part of it is like, it's as much about just sort of, I guess like convenience or whatever else. Like I think it's just an idea of like whatever, preference. I get like it's options, it's sort of flexibility. And I think those are always just like kind of the power words that are coming up a lot
Right.
kind of in this era of digital transformation, is that like it is allowing for institutions to be more flexible and, adapt more to, student demands or anything like that. But then, yeah, like just I guess from what you're saying too, like the students could choose from more courses or, sort of good compromise or good sort of partnership where it's just like, all right, like it's a 50-50 split, like the money, because like all
Yeah.
those factors matter, right? In terms of just like
Right.
this persisting and being successful. And you wouldn't want that to be like kind of clashing or sort of like, these opposing forces or whatever that would get in the way of it. But so that's really cool to hear. Yeah. That like technology is sort of, I'm sure, I guess, with why there's been more kind of renewed interest or conversation around dual enrollment is that technology is really kind of amplifying the accessibility of it.
Yeah, and I think so. I mean, kind of the political and economic factors aside, right? But what matters for me as someone that has done a lot of academic technology over my career is it allows us to bring class to the students. So like some of these students, the student that wants to leave the high school and come and have the college experience, they're going to do that no matter what, right? But there are students that would want to take classes, but maybe it's a transportation problem. Maybe it's they're very involved socially at their high school. They don't want to leave that. So by us taking classes in through Zoom and through Logitech, we can give them that option so they can stay at their school, stay involved socially, but they get the same classes they would get if they came to the campus. So I think that's a big factor for me is that it just eliminates all these barriers to the student. They can just walk into a room. We've equipped it with 2 TVs, one for content, one for the instructor to be on. We've got one rally bar up front. Like they just walk in, we schedule it so it comes on automatically, it shuts off automatically. They don't have to do a thing. Maybe sometimes a cable will get unplugged, but even the students now are like, oh, let me replug this HDMI cable in. Like some student played with it or something. But so it's that ease of use too, right? That like we couldn't have done that with some of our systems before. It's just too complex. Now it's all running internally in the bar. And if something goes wrong, it's normally as simple as resetting the bar or making sure the cables are plugged in the right spot.
Yeah, I mean, and that sort of like ease of use and that sort of efficiency is really important. I think with any sort of like technology tool and platform or whatever is just like that. Like reducing that friction just is always just going to increase adoption. And I think that's something that we've kind of explored a lot on the show is just really acknowledging that part of it of like if you're maybe doing something in a more like enterprise level at an institution, trying to implement like a big new platforms, like you've got to acknowledge that of just like, okay, how are we sort of training people on this or whatever else? But then like in this context, like, yeah, you're solving for a lot of things that could cause like frustration or impede like,
Yeah.
the learning experience and stuff. So that's really great.
Because we did try this with a few schools. It's probably 10 years ago. But again, we were using, a proprietary kind of video conferencing system. It was very expensive. I mean, we're talking $50,000, $60,000 to set up. If they didn't already have a setup, wasn't really feasible for us to give them a setup. So then you're trying to bridge between two different
Mhm.
platforms. And we tried it and it was like, oh, this isn't going to work. And so fast forward to, you know, 2021, 2022, and all of a sudden it's like, "Oh, we can do this." It's as simple as like, "Let's throw this bar in there and plug it in," and we just go.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, and I think it'd be kind of remiss, I guess, of like, just talking all about this, like what makes initiatives like this so important, so impactful for students? Because I think that idea of like, okay, we've solved for a lot of these sort of like variables or, barriers and things. So like, you know, how is this like benefiting students who are able to take advantage of these now that like it's more accessible for them?
Yeah, so, it's in a couple of ways. They've also continued to create low cost or free course materials for the students, so we try to do that along with this to eliminate those barriers. I think the biggest thing, and maybe I don't wanna hit the point too often, is that it gives them choice that they didn't have before. So for a student saying, "I'd like to take that political science course or that comms course or this math class, and I can't." Now it's, "Oh, I can, and all I have to do is walk into this room, and it's there." During our and we try to do it overlapping their normal scheduled
Right.
periods, which and that's another barrier, of course, right? Syncing up schedules between high schools and the university. What happens when maybe they're closed and we're open, or we're closed and they're open? I mean, it goes back and forth, right? So it is a constant, you just got to stay constantly engaged with the school. Like, give me, if you're going to be closed for weather, you got to let us know. If you got a day off for professional development, you got to let us know so that we can record. We can do all the things that we need to do in order for them to be successful. And a lot of that is communication between the high school and us.
Well, yeah, and I'd imagine like there's because again, like you're saying, sort of like the political kind of things or whatever, like that idea of the institution would love to be able to be put in front of these students to potentially have them like enroll
Sure.
in the future.
Yeah.
Like so, the idea of too, of like there's sort of um, kind of an appeal for them, and then certainly for the students, yeah, it's like it's a cost effective way to be getting an early start
Yeah.
on college and kind of building their confidence with that, um, and then yeah, I mean, just that idea of like the collaboration and everything else, like again, like it's sort of an enabler of that, of like making sure that yeah, I mean, like the technology works and is easy, but then even just that, like the coordination of everything, because I think you'd want to not have there be sort of like the collisions or friction or,
Right.
sort of like things. Scheduling would be like a big thing where it's just like, oh, we
Right.
got all these students doing these like, dual enrollment courses and it's throwing everything, haywire or whatever. So,
Yeah, it is building some tolerance into it. I mean, altruistically, we want the students to have the opportunity, right, to get college classes. But institutionally, it's like, we'd like you to get these college classes and then choose Ohio University when it's time to go to college. And that, because there's the competition, right, among institutions, like who's delivering classes. And I mean, just to do an honest evaluation of it, a lot of times technical and community colleges were more agile moving in. They would certify more teachers than the university would. So that created an early lead for them. And again, it's cooperative, but it's also competitive, right? Just a realistic evaluation of what's going on. But this allows us, so the student had a preference to stay at their school. So maybe a tech or community college would certify one of their teachers, but they couldn't get certified through us because maybe they didn't have a master's degree in the subject. This allows us to put those university certified instructors like right into their building without, because it was difficult for their teachers to get certified. So that's a whole nother level of it, right? But it is kind of balanced out where the tech and community colleges kind of have their niche, and then we have our niche. But now we can deliver it where before it was easier for them to do it than it was for us. But again, the technology solved that, and it's not just the technology, and it was the ease of use of it with the rally bars. And again, not only is it just plug and play, but if you need to add a secondary camera, you can, which is not usual for video conferencing bars.
mhm.
If you want to add like a whiteboard camera in, but this was the deciding factors in a school that needed flexibility, that we can add very cost-effective peripherals to the rally bar that other video conferencing bars or all-in-one solutions just didn't have for us. So that expands all of these opportunities that now we can take advantage of over the last couple of years.
Well, I appreciate you giving such a like kind of full context of all the sort of different factors that go into uh, an initiative like this and the technology that sort of undergirds it and supports it, enables it. And so, as we're wrapping up, like, is there anything that you're really excited about, like with this initiative, with your work, or things that you're looking forward to as the future unfolds?
Honestly, at the first level is just the scalability of it. Like, now that we've proven it in 15 schools, like, scaling that out at a low cost that I've said just creates opportunities, or the flexibility of like, "Hey, the school doesn't wanna do it anymore." We can literally throw that equipment in the back of a minivan and drive it somewhere else, and you're up and running with, another institution. But, I mean, it was so successful. The idea was so appealing that our provost actually funded our 5 campuses to go out and install these. So it got that level of attention from the universities. "We need to do more with College Credit Plus. How can we do it?" We had just rebuilt all of our classrooms using the rally bars and, like, expansive, like, a little more
Hmm.
full featured, and I'm like, "You know what? I think we could do this." So we just started doing it. We got the money from the provost, which is not always the easy thing to do, by the way. Provosts don't just hand out money, just for no reason, but this really proved to be something that was successful.
Just the idea of like thinking about kind of what even could be next, of like kind of reflecting on the idea of
Right.
like, well, yeah, we did, the stuff in our classroom spaces that enabled this, which, in turn maybe then will enable something else in the future. But like you can sometimes not know necessarily what, certain seeds that you're planting almost like unintentionally will then
Right.
come to harvest in terms of like, wow, okay, yeah. I mean, like doing the classroom stuff really helped support this dual, credit program.
And not only that, I mean, I think what could be next is, what if we offered a class to students that were, we don't have enough students to have a campus someplace, but what if we had a room somewhere in a high school that also people could come in from the community and take a class? Like, it kind of scales that way as well. Because some people want to come someplace to do a class as
Hmm.
opposed to like doing it online, or even if it's synchronous online. Sometimes they don't want that. They want to be in a room with some other people. And
Hmm.
so it just, again, allows that flexibility. So the future, I mean, obviously, there's all kinds of things happening with technology and AI, and how it'll continue to build out. So excited to see what the next generation of like this video conferencing systems will be like.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely an exciting moment. I'll give you kind of the last word if there's something that you want to
Eh,
kind of give a shout out to, or sort of like call to action, or just advice on this topic to close out the episode.
Yeah, I mean, I would say, if I was doing a shout out right now, the obviously video conferencing technology is not new, and obviously it's something post the pandemic people used a lot more. But I would encourage people to sometimes they want to go for the like all the bells and whistles when what you need is something that's reliable. You can update them centrally, like you can manage them centrally, you can update them centrally. If you need to remote control it, you can remote control it through a couple different interfaces. So I think it's looking for the solution that makes the most sense and is practical and scalable versus something that costs $15,000, $20,000, but it's really overkill for the what you're trying to do. And I think that kind of flexibility and scalability lets you do things, and it lets you experiment in ways you couldn't have experimented before. So I would say go experiment.
Yeah, yeah. We always like to say that on the show is like start somewhere, and
Just
like
do
kind
it.
of go from there. But yeah, just appreciate you so much for all that you shared in this interesting kind of really cool initiative at Ohio U, and we'll have ways to connect with you and check out more about that in the episode description. But yeah, just thank you so much for taking the time.
Thank you.